Welcome to the Glow Code podcast. My name is Kate Dove and I'm your host. The Glow Code podcast is a collection of bite-sized conversations designed to help you step into your main character energy, glow up, and connect with your femininity. This podcast is for the woman who wants to radiate her beauty from the inside out and move through the world with authenticity. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode, and let's get started. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Glow Code podcast. I'm your host, Kate Dove. I am recording this episode on August 26th, and yesterday on the 25th, we just started the Venus in Leo transit. And this is personally my Venus return because I have Venus in Leo in my birth chart. And this transit is going to be here with us until September 19th, which funnily enough is my birthday. Venus is the planet of love and relationships and romance. Leo is the sign of expression, confidence, boldness, and these two energies together give us a vibe of like, put me on a yacht in Greece with a sexy man and then we'll go shopping in the afternoon and then in the evening we'll have red wine and a fancy dinner. So it's very lavish and very flirtatious, which also makes this such an amazing energy to use in our manifestations, because oftentimes we approach manifestation through a step-by-step strategy or like a business plan or contract, when actually manifestation is about the relationship that we have with ourselves and the universe. And when we are coming from this flirtatious, sensual energy, we are engaging our physical senses and therefore bridging the gap between our current reality and the new one that we are calling in. So that is what we are discussing in today's episode. And also, if my voice sounds a little bit hindered or like I'm struggling just a little bit, it's because I just started Invisalign. I'm on day 2, and I also had a tooth extraction last week before putting this in. So I'm kind of learning how to navigate this new change. So if I take some pauses or, I just sound a little bit like far away, I'm just getting used to this new change. It's going to be a long process. I have like a year and a half of this, so I'm hoping that it's all going to be worth it. Everyone tells me that it'll be worth it. And yeah, just a little PSA for you guys. Last month in July, I decided to do a little experiment with my book launch that I had on July 12th. And this experiment was, I wanted to embody main character energy, and not just main character energy in general, but the essence of this woman that I wrote about in Threads of Sin and Thrones, which was the 4th book of the series. If you want to know, yes, the series will be continuing, but only when the ideas are ready to go, because I just need it to be like really pulling at me before I dive in. So in case you wanted to know, but I wanted to embody her energy because she is bubbly and lighthearted. She is adored by this man in the book. She has come into a decent amount of money and she's just really like feeling herself and opening up. And I was like, this is the energy that I want to bring into my book launch. So I bought like 4 different outfits that were actually exactly what I had visualized her wearing in the book. And then I also bought the sunglasses that I wrote about her wearing. And in the book, I had made a little mention of her having like this very sweet coconut scent to her. So I also got a coconut perfume by Heretic Parfum. This is not sponsored. I just really love them and I honestly wish I would have found them sooner. because they make the perfumes all natural and with botanical ingredients. So putting all that together on launch day, I wore the bathing suit outfit and the sunglasses and the perfume. And honestly, it was such a successful launch, and I felt exactly how I wanted to feel, which was fun, flirty, light, free. I spent time at the beach. Like, it was a whole mood, and my body felt just like this main character. And putting myself into her energy led to so much abundance flowing through that day. And honestly, it was a really magical experience, I'm not gonna lie. And that really kickstarted this new routine for me, this new manifestation routine for me of really engaging my physical senses to draw in what I desire. Oftentimes, when we feel like our manifestations are so far away or like they're so out of reach, it's not because we have this block, it's a matter of misalignment. So we often use the word block to just understand what's happening in our energy and what we might need to reflect on and look at. But truly, it's a matter of alignment versus misalignment. The way I want you to imagine this is, let's say you are going to meet with a friend at a mall that you've never been to before. So you show up at the mall, you park, and you're like, okay, how do I navigate around here? So you walk up to the door, and maybe either you just push it open or it's automatic, which is even better. And you walk into the mall and you're not quite sure where you're going. So you call your friend and your friend is like, okay, where are you at? And you tell them. Then your friend says, okay, you're going to make a left at the candy shop. So you're like, okay, let me go up to the candy shop, and it smells really nice, and you take in what it looks like and you make your turn. And then your friend is like, okay, now go up the escalator. So you go up the escalator, you have that feeling in your body of moving upwards. And throughout this whole process, your body is taking in its surroundings and remembering the path that you're going down, so that way later on you can find your way back and also just be aware of your surroundings. Then finally your friend is like, oh, I see you. And you're like, where? I don't see you. And they're like, turn left or look this way. And then you look around and you're like, oh, okay, there you are. I found you. That is what manifestation is like. We don't have to beat down the door to get into the mall or get into the store. We just have to listen to our intuition, listen to where our desire is leading us. And if you want to hear more about that and how our desires are helping us right now, you can check out the previous episode, and that one is a very juicy, in-depth episode, I believe about 43 minutes, so there's a lot of information in there. Now, if I were to ask you about that route that you went through to get to your friend, you could tell me these steps that you took, but while you were telling me, you would most likely feel the other sensations in your body. And activating our physical senses are what bridge the gap between our current reality and the one that we are calling in. I actually read an article recently about using perfume in manifestation, using perfume to adorn, using perfume as a symbol to our mind and what we are manifesting. And this is something that is not often talked about in mainstream manifestation spaces, but our mind understands and associates things with symbols. And when we have memories, for example, we're going to not just see what that memory is, but we're also going to have feelings in our body or maybe on our skin There's going to be things that we hear, things that we can taste or smell. And for example, like when I think of my grandmother's old house, because I loved going there, yes, I can see the house, but I can also feel the way the air was in the house. I can smell the freshly baked cookies that she always had ready for me every time I would go over. And this is what we want to engage with in our mind and our body when we are manifesting. Going back to the perfume topic, when I was a teenager, there was this man that I used to watch on YouTube all the time, and every video he made was about cologne and perfume, and he would always be testing them. And honestly, his reactions were great. He always had the most expressive, like dramatic reactions. So he would spray a perfume and he would be like, "This is the woman who walks into the room in a red dress and big curly hair, and she smells like roses, and she has high heels on, and there's candlelight." Like, he would get so into it. But that is what our mind does when we start to make an association with a physical sensation. Because once we get into that new reality, not only are we just going to see different things around us, but they're going to bring us a certain sensation in our body with our emotions and also with how we are receiving the world around us. Scent is especially so powerful because it moves with our breath, and we want to approach manifestation like breathing. When we have shallow breath, we don't feel open, but when we have a deep, steady breath, our body does feel open and relaxed. And when we bring different scents to mind, it helps to initiate and invoke certain feelings in our body that we want to cultivate. So, for example, to give you an understanding of the association between scent and the images in our mind and how we perceive the world around us, when I was in high school, I used to wear Chanel Mademoiselle all the time. That was my signature scent. Now I'm really getting a love for Dirty Rose by Heretic Parfum, but in high school, Chanel was my go-to. And at this time, I had met my now husband. He was in a grade above me, and a lot of times he would message me like in the middle of class and be like, "I can always tell when you are about to come around the corner because I can smell your perfume." Or on the weekend, he would message me and he would be like, "Hey, I'm with so-and-so or out with family," and he would be like, "For a second, I thought you were here because I could smell your perfume." This is the effect that we have on the universe when we use physical touch, sensation, smell, taste to become acquainted with what we are calling in. So for example, let's say you run a business and maybe you have a financial goal that you want to hit, and underneath that you want the feeling of luxury. Well, you don't have to spend $1 million in order to feel luxurious. Instead, you can start with a bouquet of flowers. You can wear satin nightgowns to bed. You can dip strawberries in dark chocolate, whatever resonates with you. When we indulge in this, when we find enjoyment in these sensory activities, we send a signal to the universe to give us more of that because we're actually entertaining it now. We don't want to always have manifestation over here and far away. We want to bring it into our life slowly, delicately, with passion, with desire, with sensuality. And sensuality isn't just about outward sexiness or attractiveness. Sensuality is an experience where we can fully tap into heightened sensations in our body that bring feelings of turn on, of passion, of fulfillment. And this also puts us in the role of assuming feminine leadership. A lot of times people think that it is the masculine that takes the lead. But truly, if we want the masculine to provide, whether that is in the form of a partner or the universe and receiving our desires, we have to lead through our feminine. And we lead through our feminine by setting the example for how we want to be loved and cared for. We can tell the universe that we want a romantic partner or our dream home all day long, but if we only have the vision of it, the picture of it, without feeling a connection to it, without indulging and experimenting with what that would actually feel like to have, and the universe isn't going to be as precise as we want it to be. With manifestation, we want to be specific, and that doesn't mean that you need a list of 200 things that you want, but this precision in manifestation is not just about the external representation, but the feeling that we have in our body. We can manifest the thriving business all day long, but if we didn't focus on the feelings of openness and ease and being supported, then we could get that business and feel completely burnt out. We could manifest the romantic partner that looks like an absolute prince and walks a certain way, talks a certain way. But if we don't feel safe to receive romance, receive compliments, receive our own touch and desire, then we could attract that man or woman, depending on your preferences, who isn't yet on that level of intimacy. When we look at manifestation through a sensual lens, through the lens of the lover archetype, we break down any expectations that we have around time or not feeling enough. And if that does come up for us and we are approaching manifestations like a relationship, then instead of feeling like we are doing something wrong, we get to look at it as, I'm only going up from here, I'm only improving from here, I'm only becoming more open from here. Because again, this idea of a block and feeling like we need to fight through something is not necessarily required for the manifestation process. We're going to have moments of reflection and challenges where things come up, but it's a matter of looking at things through a different perspective. How can your challenges actually be sexy and sensual? And maybe how can you feel that in your physical body? Let's say you perceive that you have some kind of block. Again, it's just a matter of realignment, but let's say you were feeling this way and you decide in the bedroom that you want to try a certain form of bondage. So while you are in that act and you are feeling the tightness, you are feeling the restriction, you are becoming acquainted with that. And there's also the element of trust and surrender that you start to feel into. In that moment, you are rewiring your mind, you are rewiring your body. And once you are complete with that act, you are much more relaxed. Your body can feel the difference between being restrained versus having free range. And now that is an energy that you can take into your everyday life. When we become familiar with the sensations before the physical representation shows up, we make ourselves a match to receiving it quicker. we are able to then hold the manifestation instead of it coming in and feeling like too much. There are always going to be things that we are working through as we go through each level, but again, that comes back to the concept of manifestation being a relationship. You have a different relationship with each desire. Each desire is going to teach you something different. Each desire is going to provide you with something different. And when you take that first step, when you step into that feminine leadership role and setting the example of what you enjoy and giving that to yourself now, the universe is then able to follow suit. When you finish listening to this episode, I want to invite you to change one thing about your physical environment that you're also going to feel the effect of in your physical body. So maybe it is going out and getting a new perfume, or maybe it is changing the kind of clothes that you are wearing. Maybe instead of drinking plain water, you put lemon in it. It involves these little ways of just spicing up your senses and heightening your receptivity, so that way you can begin to connect those feelings with the ones that you want to draw in with the physical manifestations that you are calling into your life. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If this resonated with you, be sure to leave a review and subscribe. I will see you all in the next episode.